Hi, I'd like to welcome you to Sumaya Unveiled, and we have a special guest today. My baby sister, I know she probably doesn't like for me to say that, but I have to throw that in. My sister, Serena Brown Travis, she is so many things. She is a wife, she is a mother, she is an entrepreneur of multiple businesses. She holds multiple degrees. She's in her working on her doctoral program. She is a minister. She is, I feel like I'm forgetting. There's so much that she is. She's done so much. She's doing so much. And she's an author of multiple books. I am honored to share her with you. Now, our father is Les Brown. So she is also the daughter of Les Brown and also the daughter of Miss Florine, who we love dearly. And there's so much to her journey. And there's so much that I'm excited to kind of uncover and unlock as we look at Serena to see who she is. She holds all of these different roles, but who is she? So, sis, Serena, hey girl. You look good, by the way.
I'm trying to look like my big sister.
Thank you. Thank you. No, but seriously, when I look at you, and I better not cry, I'm so proud.
Oh.
I am very proud, and I'm not going to cry because I look up to you for all that you do. When I think about Proverbs 31 and I think about a virtuous woman, and I think about, for those who may not know what I'm talking about, it's just a woman who basically handles business. She has so many different areas that she operates, and she does it well. She does it masterfully. Her reputation precedes her. Her reputation is in the mouths of different people and in the ears of people, and they say positive things about her. And I can honestly say that you've done so much in such a short period of time, and I'm proud of you.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, let me thank you. I am humbled by your words and your compliments, and it doesn't feel that way. When you're just doing and working and going and trying to do right, trying to make your parents proud, trying to, work out, drink water, be a good wife, it's just so much.
Yes.
And I don't even look at the accomplishments or the accolades or the alphabets behind my name, because it just, you're just on a path to find your greatness, to make an impact in the world. And that's all I'm trying to do. So I appreciate it, though. That didn't seem like it. I guess I should breathe at some point and go, oh, not bad. But I think if you do that's not where I am yet. So I appreciate you, though.
Well, you juggle it well. You make it look easy, and I know it's not. So I salute you, sis.
Yes.
I salute you. I'm
Thank you,
sitting
dear.
here in the midst of all your books. Obviously, we have our father's book here, but we have Tied to Greatness. In case I forget to tell you, Breaking Generational Curses and Familial Patterns, Finding Your Greatness, a beginner's guide to exploring toxic roots. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but this cover is just adorable. You can see her face. She's so cute. Okay. But inside of this, there is some power and some wisdom that she has in here. So before we dig into this book, which we're going to get into in a moment, how do you, and I don't even want to say how do you juggle, because we just answered that, but with you being a wife, with you being an entrepreneur, a minister, a student, so many different things so many roles that you play, how do you show up as Serena? Who is Serena behind all of these different roles that you wear?
That's a great question. There are times where Serena is excited and energetic about life. And then if we're honest, there are other times that Serena is thinking, am I doing the right thing? Is this the track that I'm supposed to be on? Lord, please guide me and direct me. And how do I know? There are times that I'm scared, being a mother, being responsible for two little children at one point in my life, and they look at you, they look like you, they love you, they admire you, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with you? And so making sure that I try to be all things at the same time, and then also not lose myself in the process. It's a great question, but I think the important thing that I try to learn to do is to make segments and make an allowance for myself. So if I find that I've made a mistake, to be okay with that. If I find that I want to have fun and forget about all of the degrees and all of that, I do that. And so Serena, who is she behind all of everything that you mentioned, which I don't even think about, is scared at times, and at the same time wanting to make sure I'm doing everything to the best of my ability, not to everyone else's satisfaction, but to the best of my ability, that I can sleep at night and feel good about what I've done for that day.
That's awesome. Well, I want to answer this question for you because I'm not entirely satisfied with that answer as your sister. So I'm going to share a story about who Serena is.
Okay.
When we were younger, we were probably maybe under the age of 10. You'll be able to correct me once we start going. And our father took us to Chicago for a trip. And he took us to a place called Forever Free. And it was a home that had mothers and children who were homeless and had all kinds of different issues. I think a lot of them came from battered homes, and they were in hiding and secrecy. And I remember the Serena that I knew, my baby sister, my sister, was always hardcore, always a tomboy. I mean, you could play basketball. If she wanted to be in the WNBA, ladies and gentlemen, she honestly could have. And I'm not just saying this. My father hired someone to coach her who was a basketball star, and she beat him. And so
I'm sure
as a kid, no, he was mad and he didn't come back for weeks. Every time he came, he was a laughing stock of our home. That was partially my fault, but I digress. So all of that to say that I saw the tomboy, I saw the tough girl. I didn't really see the tenderness, even though it was there, even though we were very, very close as kids. And when we went to Forever Free, and there was a point where the children, we had to say goodbye. We had to leave. And you were all the kids just started crying. And, you know, I'm a kid, so we're kids. And I'm looking like, oh my gosh, this is awkward. They're crying. What do we do? Yeah. And I look at you and you break, you weep, you are sobbing with them. And your heart was so tender. I remember the drive home, we were all quiet. And you and I were very talkative, kind of in our own worlds. It was just you and I as kids. When we had other siblings, but we were kind of like as thick as thieves. And we didn't really talk. It was just your tears. Yeah. That was it.
You know, that is so interesting. I remember the moment. I'm trying to make sure I don't cry because I do remember. And I think I was just sad. That was the first time I saw up close and personal the gratefulness and how grateful we should have been as children, and that we took stuff for granted. And they were happy to see us. We were happy to be there and play. And yes, I was a bratty tomboy that talked trash all day, every day. And I just remember that goodbye hit differently because I didn't know what would happen afterwards. So Lord, I'm crying. I didn't know. And they were our age.
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the world? You know, I remember lights out at a certain time and everything was so communal, which initially seemed like it was fun. But then it dawned on us how fortunate we were. And it wasn't their fault, but they were still, they would have been my friends. Like we had a good time. we had a good time playing and joking. And I remember we read books and I think we even fed them. I mean, it was a good time. And that was the first time that I can remember thinking this could be me, but they were still happy. And and you remember the name of everything. See, me trying to be hardcore, I probably tried to put it behind me. But we see just how, that was a very tender moment because I had never seen people who looked like me, who were my age, that had that type of experience. That was stuff we would see on TV, you remember, but not in person. And it really, that was a humbling experience that forever changed. I remember my mother would say, you never know what people are going through. That was the first time that I'm like, man, kids are going through this. Kids that could be me. And again, it was fun, but it was hard to say goodbye because and who knows where they are, what they're doing. I pray that they're okay. But I remember that. You're right. And I'm still hardcore. I don't care.
This was her when we were little. I don't care. It's like, oh my gosh, she's so tough.
I cared. I cared. Lord have mercy.
And I think, and that's what I mean. That to me, that's the core of who you are. You're a woman of deep empathy. So when you show up as a wife, when you show up as a minister, when you show up as an entrepreneur of so many different businesses, the Good Kitchen, I love the Good Kitchen, and my tummy loves it too. But it's a labor of love. There's so much that you've done for the community, even during the pandemic. The way you made sure that kids had food, that somebody had a funeral, they were taken care of. There are so many different ways that you have served others, even as an author, which we're going to get into the book. And so I would say that who Serena is, if I was to answer for my sister, would be a woman of deep empathy, a woman who cares about others, who feels, and that in a society where the world has grown very cold because of technology. Now, obviously, we're on technology, so we don't want to totally down it, but at a time when empathy is almost an endangered species, I am very glad to see that it shows up in you in such a rich way and how you've used it and utilized it and leveraged it to serve others. So thank you for that.
Well, I thank you for the compliment. It would not be something that I would even think about or highlight for that matter. But now that you pointed out, I do appreciate that. Sometimes I don't like the tenderness if I'm honest. But I'm grateful that I pray that it continues to keep me grounded, that no matter what happens, good or bad, everything I do, because our lives are to be about a life of service.
Yes.
And everything that we do should be about enhancing the lives of other people. So
yes,
I appreciate that.
I love it. Now we're going to dig into this book, this author. Okay, so as I said, she has multiple books. And again, this one is Breaking Generational Curses and Familial Patterns, Finding Your Greatness, A Beginner's Guide to Exploring Toxic Roots by Serena Brown Travis. And I have to ask you, what prompted you to write this book?
So, very interesting question. I was, as you mentioned, I was in school, working on one of the degrees in seminary. And there were things we were studying in terms of families, and things had patterns. And I thought, well, wait a minute. We have patterns now in terms of, so a lot of times as families, we like to just give an overarching, like, oh, Uncle Fred, he just like to drink a little bit. And if you think about it, Uncle Fred had an addiction. You think about folks who everyone has had a heart attack by the age of 55. And people make it acceptable. The one thing that, as our Father has taught us is, don't go where the path may lead, but go where there's no path and leave a trail. And so trying to pair his teaching, biblical teaching, along with what I'm seeing in life. And I'm thinking, wait, if there's patterns, in terms of the good book, there are patterns that occur. There are things that can happen in someone's family, and they say, hey, this is going to happen for the next 3 generations. And you go, wait, I may not want that to happen for the next 3 generations. How do I put a pause to it? How do I recognize this is not the pattern that I want? And how do we pivot? How do we pivot to, change the outlook and the outcome of the family structure or whatever else may be happening? And so I started to look at that in detail. My husband has a barbershop in the urban community. And so quite often, we'll talk about, oh man, my customer's son came and he plays basketball. His dad used to play basketball. They walk just alike and they play basketball. So when you hear those type of stories, and I'm sure even for us, we know of people who walk just like Aunt so-and-so and talk. And so when you're looking at familiar patterns, whether good or bad, I decided, let me take a deeper dive and see what this looks like. And so that's really how the book came about. I am committed to breaking the bad. And here's what's funny. Let me say this. I'm interrupting myself. But I've had so many debates over the title of the book. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm not cursed. I don't care what you say. I ain't cursed. I ain't claiming I'm cursed. No, you got to change the title of the book. And at the same time, folks that I know this are dealing with certain travesties in their life. They don't like to call a thing a thing. And if we don't, then we struggle trying to break free from it, such as Uncle Fred has an addiction. and here Uncle Fred likes to drink, and here Uncle Fred has an addiction. And Uncle Fred may have an addiction, and then his daughter deals with something else that's addictive. And so let's not just call out drinking or the behavior. Let's call it for what it's worth, which is addiction. And how do we fix it? How do we make sure that it does not continue to impact generations to come?
That's powerful. And what are some challenges that you see, like when you look around society right now? What are some, if you could just pinpoint maybe one or two things, two additional things that you see where we're struggling, where we really don't want to call out certain familial patterns that can arise?
Yeah, let's look at, and it's a hard word, but let's look at the pattern perhaps of ignorance. There are times, especially, it doesn't help, but our Father taught us to look at things differently, to have a different outlook, to study, to show thyself approved, so on and so forth. And so when we see folks who are addicted to their lifestyle, even if it's a lifestyle that does not serve them and does not serve them well and does not serve them for the sake of success and being a productive citizen, that's a level, as we can call it, a level of ignorance. And I mean, they're committed to it. Man, it's just how it is. No, it doesn't have to be that way. That our Father has said, watch what successful people do what they do. Watch unsuccessful people, don't do what they do. So the level of, unfortunately, again, strong word, but we've got to call a thing a thing. The level of ignorance that continues to plague some of our families and some of our communities. And we're just committed to letting things just be what they are. And it's like, no, you can break. So someone's got to break this pattern. So that's one of the ones that really, of course, we know, again, as I mentioned, we know addiction. We know perhaps the lack of education. I know some family members, by 10th grade, everybody's dropped out of school. No, there are 12 grades. Let's finish strong. So, but again, that's one of the ones that it just drives me crazy. The level of ignorance, and no one's breaking it. And we've got to try. We've got to try.
When I don't know why, but as you're talking and I'm hearing breaking generational curses, I'm thinking about the people who are plagued by these curses are broken themselves. And so what would you say, or what are some strategies? You can maybe give one so that we don't give your book away, but maybe one strategy that you would share with someone who is in a broken place, who wants to break a generational curse, but they feel like they don't have the power to do that. What's something in here that you are sharing to encourage them to put them on that path?
Well, first of all, I think the biggest thing is let's acknowledge it. That is the hardest part. And I understand it. It's hard when you've been in a family for 18, 20, 25 years to go back and go, Mom and Dad, you could have done something a little differently. Because first of all, you know how we are. Don't you be talking about my mom and daddy. We don't play those games. I think the biggest thing is identifying it. And it's okay to say, this wasn't what I needed. And once we can get to that point, it's almost like in the AA world, the Alcoholic Anonymous world, or any of the other worlds, is acknowledging that you have a problem. And so, and I get it. Don't be talking about my people. But we have to acknowledge this is not serving me. This behavior is not serving me. So when we can get to the point that we truly acknowledge that something is wrong, something's off. Once we do that, I think everything after that, even though it's going to be difficult, it's possible to start rewiring and rerouting your levels, your road to a better life, a better behavior, and to success.
That's powerful. And the two words, to quote our Father that I heard you say, it's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. And if you are watching and you experience, we're human, we have it in our family. There are certain types of familial issues that you have that you will work through, but it is possible. And I just want to thank you again, Serena, for just being amazing, for sharing your journey as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a writer. You've written so many books that we have here. We're going to have a link in the description to get you to all of her different books. And if you could just share just some of the books that you've written, because I think that there may be some viewers who may also be interested in your other books as well.
Certainly. I'm glad you asked. The first book that I am super proud of is actually a quote from our father called "It's Not Over Until You Win." It's a children's book about a young girl who just absolutely won't give up. Even though she's losing, she still walks away and says, "It's not over until I win." And as you can imagine, that drives everybody crazy. But she's so positive and she's so optimistic. And I thought, in terms of that quote, that if we could really, and even being Les Brown's children, just on a personal level, we still struggle with, can I do this? And even if we have a setback, it's not over until I win. To have that stubbornness about our personality. And again, children's book. And I think that children at a young age need to know how to win, and so that's the one book. I have another book titled Tied to Greatness. That one in particularly I love for young men who, every kid you talk to, or many kids you talk to, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, a football player, basketball player, baseball player. And so I noticed that, things such as dentistry, careers such as dentistry, or being an architect, or a barber and cutting grass, those things go overlooked. And I think that we have to be more intentional about teaching our young men and young ladies to look at their future beyond sports. You can get hurt. You can have an ankle injury, a knee injury. And just because you can't perform on a football field, a basketball field, there are other things you can do. So it's called Tied to Greatness, understanding that how you dress is how you are addressed. And so when you look the part, all of a sudden you'll be sir and ma'am and, oh, what are you doing with the tie on today? So that is Tied to Greatness. And the last book that I have here today is called In Case I Forget to Tell You. That book for me is very personal because there was a time that for anyone who's a parent, you're dropping off the kids at school, you're picking them up, you're running to get food on your way to ballet or gymnastics or football, whatever that is. And there was one particular day I looked as I was rushing, we're practicing sight words in the car. And I said, all right, go, go, go. You're going to be late. And I'm watching my kids walk away. And I thought, did I tell you I love you today? So in case I forget to tell you, it is a book for me that teaches us or can actually help us reset even some of our parent relationships that we have with our children. We're all guilty of rushing. But yes, while we're putting on our clothes and I'm rushing to brush your hair and get everything together, in case I forget to tell you, you're so special. I love you. And because of you, I smile.
Wow, that's beautiful. And so needed in today's world.
Absolutely.
Where we're just, like you said, so busy with technology and being pulled in so many different directions, to just stop, take a breath, to look someone in the eye and say, in case I forget to tell you, because it could be the last time.
Absolutely.
People of all ages are coming and going. So I think that's a beautiful sentiment, and it's something that will heal families when we become more present and more approachable to people, and just letting them know that I see you and you live this. I appreciate you for that.
No, I appreciate you. I'm just trying to do the good work, child. But of course, as we know, it's in our DNA to make a difference in the lives of others, to leave a room or a space or a person better than we found them. And I think that we love the work that our Father has done. It has been a sacrifice, as we know. And at the same time, to see the results and to hear the stories of how Les Brown has changed the lives of so many people, I don't think the apple is going to fall far from the tree. And so here we are, doing the great work.
Yes, I'm sitting here with Les Brown's baby girl, literally baby, the youngest of his bunch. He's Mamie Brown's baby boy, and this is Les Brown's baby girl. And I want to thank you, Serena Brown Travis, and just being amazing and just sharing the jewels and the wisdom that you've gleaned in your life. So thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for being a wonderful big sister. And every time we say I'm not going to cry, okay, thankfully it went back. Every time you say you're not going to cry, you cry.
I'm kind of hurt. I wanted to see tears, but okay.
I'm too hardcore for that. No, but I appreciate your nuggets. And yes, you are my big sister. I've always laughed about you being so much shorter than me. Which at this point is just funny, but you have been such a mature force in my life. Even though you had all those compliments for me, but I can equally give them right back. And so I thank you for, your prayers, and for your friendship. Some sisters can't even sit in the same room. And so we have a good time when we're together. We're loud,
Yes, we are.
And so I thank you for being who you are in my life.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you guys. We're not going to leave you out. We got to give you some love too. So thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Sumaya Unveiled.